I wanted to bring today's topic to the podcast, talking about the importance of alcohol on preconception health. So I think a lot of us already know that the importance of removing alcohol from our diet when we're trying to conceive. It's been linked to diminished ovarian reserve, pregnancy loss, hormonal imbalances, reduced IVF success rates, reduced sperm quality, really the importance of doing this for both partners, not just the female, for both partners to remove this for a minimum of 3 months or longer when you're trying to conceive is really the importance of that. And so today's episode, we're digging into when we've decided to commit and to remove alcohol from our routine, how that impacts our relationships, how that maybe we might be feeling pressure when we're going out, how do we then socialize without alcohol, what this looks like if alcohol has been part of our, how we navigate socially and part of our routine. So I wanted to dig into that piece because a lot of people doing this could feel kind of ostracized and feel like they're alone. So really being able to set boundaries around this is super important. So hope you enjoyed this episode. Listen to this podcast episode with your partner because really it's both of you taking alcohol out of your system for at least 3 months. So thanks for listening. Check out the episode on iTunes and feel free to leave a review. As you may know, our Mindfulness Fertility series is closing today. The registration closed today at midnight Pacific. So this is a 6-week live online group program. It's our signature mindfulness program and is a must if you have an IUI or an IVF coming up, and essential for anyone trying to get pregnant naturally. We only run this series 2 times per year. We offer insurance receipts if you have coverage for social work or counseling. There's only a handful of spots that remain. Class starts this Thursday, September the 26th. All classes are recorded so you can view again at your leisure. I just wanted to share another success story from one of our previous mindfulness series. This is from Danielle. So it was interesting to learn the different techniques in relaxation and in being able to turn negative lines of thought into positive ones. Physically, mentally, I became somewhat calmer, which helped me in my day-to-day interactions with my husband, family, and friends. I learned more about nutrition, even though I was already gluten and dairy free, and it really reinforced my commitment to staying on that path. Turns out I conceived even before the series ended. Incredible and shocking, Danielle. So if it feels right for you, feel free to go to FabFertile, FABfertile.com, click on shop, and then Mindfulness Fertility Series to register. That's FabFertile, FABfertile, and click on shop, Mindfulness Fertility Series to register. We'd love to have you join.
Because this is a good thing. You're not taking away from your life, you're adding to your life. And who knows, maybe someone's going to find that they actually realize that life is a little bit better than without alcohol and the drama around it and, all the damaging effects that alcohol can bring into somebody's life.
Welcome to Get Pregnant Naturally, where functional medicine and natural fertility solutions will help you get pregnant and have your baby. Hey everyone, I'm Sarah Clark, and my mission is to inspire, motivate, and empower you. Most of all, I want you to wake up. So with functional medicine, we can discover what causes infertility and eventually reverse the condition. Today, I'm welcoming Mia Mancuso to the podcast, and we're digging into the impact of alcohol on preconception health. Mia Mancuso is a wife, dog mama, registered nurse, breathwork space holder, accountability coach for the gray area drinker, and a proud silver-haired, yep, it's real, teetotaling broad. She values and enjoys taking care of herself and believes that choosing not to imbibe is the ultimate health choice one can make. Within this lifestyle choice, she has a newfound love for creating community with other teetotalers by leading sober adventure retreats, hosting women's specialty circles, and providing one-on-one coaching. Check out her website at thesoberglow.com and also her Instagram, thesoberglow. And before we jump into today's show, don't forget to hit the subscribe button on iTunes or wherever you're listening to this to make sure you never miss an episode. Hey, Mia, excited to have you on the podcast.
Thank you.
Awesome. So can you share with us how you came to do this work? Because I don't think what you're doing potentially was really on your radar.
No, actually it wasn't. First, I'm a registered nurse. I work in oncology. That's what I do full time right now, which I'll actually be stepping back a little bit and going part time at the end of next month. But what I do as my side gig or my little passion project is I run the account, The Sober Glow. And what that is, it started as an Instagram account when I was roughly about a year sober. 4 years ago, almost, I stopped drinking. I decided to change my lifestyle. I was living a very fast-paced New York City life, and I decided to pull back. And one of the main things that I did was remove alcohol. About a year after doing that, I was finding that I didn't really know anybody that didn't drink. And at first it wasn't a problem, but I started, wanting more and more interaction with other women who weren't drinking. And so my husband had suggested I join Bumble BFF, which is kind of like a dating service for friends. I don't know if you've heard of that.
I heard it, yeah.
And I, at the time, just started laughing. I couldn't even imagine doing that. So his next option for me was to start an Instagram account. So it was actually my husband's idea. So I went ahead and started the Sober Glow, and I just started talking about like what I was going through, what I had gone through, my decision to stop drinking, and the ins and outs and the crazies of just living life without alcohol in a culturally obsessed society that with alcohol. And it just started taking off a little bit. I started meeting women. I had put out a couple months after I started it, if anybody would be interested in a book club. And I got a handful of women who were. And in January of 2017, we met in a tiny little room in Soho, and it was really sweet. And it just kind of blossomed from there, the in real life interactions. So we started the book club, and I'll just fast forward. I moved to California, started a book club here, and then decided to start retreats as well. And from there, I just started coaching as well. Everything that I'm doing right now just kind of organically happened. There was no plan. There was no push. Nothing about this came from the mindset of a business. It came from the mindset of, this is my life. I want to share it. Other people may or may not be interested in it. It might resonate for some women. It may not. But that's where all of my decisions have come from, just from a place of, I like this and I want to share it.
Yeah, I love it. And definitely check out your Instagram account at the Sober Glow. Is it at the Sober Glow or at Sober Glow?
The Sober Glow.
Definitely check that out. It's an awesome account. And yeah, so today I really wanted to bring you on the podcast because when people are trying to conceive, they've been told the recommendation is to not drink. And this can kind of be, especially in our culture, like you talked about, it can be difficult to navigate this, and it may feel like you're on the outside and not be included in parties and fun and all this sort of stuff. I just want to kind of just go into a couple of little studies just about drinking and pregnancy before we get going, but not pregnancy, but preconception health. So studies have found that even drinking as few as 4 alcoholic drinks per week can decrease the efficacy of IVF and live birth rates. It also decreases quality, quantity, and motility of sperm. And really, so I talked about this before on the podcast, it takes 90 days for the egg to renew itself, and the life cycle of the sperm is 70 to 80 days. So for preconception health, really to not drink alcohol for at least 3 to 4 months is really a must. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to bring you on the podcast because I just think the way, and actually I found you through the book I'm reading, and I went on a retreat with this lady a couple of years ago, Ruby Warrington, and she's written a book called Sober Curious, and she mentions you in the book. And so I wanted to talk about that because there's just a whole trend now going to mindfully drinking or sober curious. And and I think a lot of people we're still stuck over in the, when we go out. Like I went out on Monday for my son's birthday on Monday, and someone was asking, would you like a drink? I'm like, why would I be drinking on a Monday? And then everyone at the restaurant was drinking, and I'm like, I'm just having a cranberry soda. I'm good, but it's like this pressure, right? So with that, how do we, I don't know if you want to talk about your quit story or how do we quit drinking?
Well, I think when it comes to maybe your listeners or your readers, if they're thinking about quitting drinking for this period in life when they're trying to conceive, it's probably a little different than someone who's in the mindset of like, I'm going to quit forever. I guess in my frame of mind, I was done with drinking, but I didn't do AA. I don't consider myself someone who is addicted or in recovery. I just consider it wasn't working for me. And so I decided to take it away from my life. It wasn't that easy, of course. And I understand that that's not everyone's situation, but let's just, for your reader's sake, your listener's sake, they're going to remove it for a couple of months for something really spectacular, that happens in the end. So I think if anyone's going into it like that, they should just have the mind frame of like, you're doing something really good for yourself. And ideally in the end, there is a conception and, and then you have a baby after this. Just try to be in a positive mindset is the first step, I think, because this is a good thing. You're not taking away from your life, you're adding to your life. And who knows, maybe someone's going to find that they actually realize that life is a little bit better than without alcohol and the drama around it and, all the damaging effects that alcohol can bring into somebody's life. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say because you talk about the gray area. So if you're neither an addict nor completely sober. So, what does that gray area look like for someone?
Okay, so when I describe gray area drinking, there's this idea, at least when I started this path, was that either you're a drinker or you're an alcoholic. Okay, you're a normal drinker, you're an alcoholic. It was always black and white. If you don't drink, you have to go to AA because that's what they do when they don't drink. Well, that couldn't be further from the truth. All of us, anyone who drinks alcohol is somewhere, in my opinion, on the spectrum of this gray. A lot of people do not have a problem with alcohol. They can take it or leave it. It doesn't cause any problems. If it's not causing you any problems, don't worry about it. If you want to remove it, for conception, go for it. But then there are other people who are like, okay, so I'm drinking, it's causing me troubles. Like I'm having problems with my relationship, maybe I'm going to work hungover, or I'm drinking too much when I don't mean to. They're not, quote unquote, diagnosed as an alcoholic. It's not just black and white. There's this vast area of gray. So when I speak about that, and in my coaching practice, I work with women who are somewhere on that spectrum. Okay. Not someone who that needs to go into rehab to really get help with this addiction. Okay. They might be heading that way. I think anyone can be heading that way. Nobody's immune to this. Alcohol is an addictive substance. It's just the area gray. I just want to specify, like, anyone can be in this area. It's not normal drinking. It's not alcoholic drinking. It's somewhere in the middle.
And I think we kind of go through periods, at least for me during my university period. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of drinking. I remember
absolutely
it's crazy, but I could have 10 beers, and after 10 beers, I would still be fine. If I had 10 beers now, I'd be dead.
Oh yeah, forget it.
Tolerance was like so crazy. And then my health took a nosedive. So I really took, alcohol out of the equation. And then kind of maybe when the kids were, I don't know, maybe 3 and 5, or I don't know, 5 and 7, kind of in there, we got a boat. And this boat culture was like, everybody was drinking. It was like weird. I'm like, okay, why am I like every weekend drinking again? And then during that period, I had complete nightmares that my kids were going to drown because everyone around was drunk. Now I wasn't completely drunk, but nor was I completely sober. So it was a very weird part of my life. And then we stopped boating, not because of the drinking, but it was interesting just with that drinking thing. And then again, for my health, I took it out for a while. And now it's like, for me, it's a little bit on the weekend, but I think it's just to kind of see why we're using it. If using it to relax, like if you're running in the door saying, give me a drink, and we need to use that on a Friday to relax or to go out and socialize. So I guess kind of with this, for people that are trying to conceive and are taking it completely out because they're doing it for a reason. So how do we deal with the societal pressures and maybe like, oh no, we're hanging out with everybody. Like, what do we do about that side of things?
Everybody's different, and everybody's story is different in how they handle things. Plus the people around me in my life may be different than your life. I didn't have that much of a pushback from my friends, even though 99% of them drink. I do know, that a lot of people do have trouble with their friends and family. And it's always like, well, you can just have one, or why aren't you doing this? Or are you still doing that no drinking thing? I think first the person has to decide, do they even want to talk about this with anybody else? They don't have to. It's nobody's business what you do with your life. And if you want to drink or not, it is nobody's business. But if you want to address it, kind of figure out, get your words together, why you're doing it, so you can kind of just explain to someone. Be prepared, though. A lot of times people are going to continue to question you, and they're going to give you their own opinion. And then what I found a lot happens as well is that they will actually start talking to you about their own drinking and how it's not a problem. I found that to be the case with whenever I would meet someone new, not necessarily, someone I've known or a friend of mine, when I would tell them I don't drink in whatever social situation, inevitably it would always turn, the conversation would turn to them and how they don't have a problem with drinking and it's okay for them to continue drinking. And, I would just have to nod and smile and let them talk and say whatever they need to say. So you just have to be prepared for how people are going to handle you, and you never really know. So having a good guideline of what you want to say to someone is always a good start, right? And then worst case scenario, if someone is pushing too much, you just turn around and walk away. I have no problem with that. Again, it's nobody's business. You're doing this, whoever gives up drinking is doing it for whatever reason, and that's fine. This is your one life,
It's the same when I tell people like I don't do gluten, dairy, or corn, and people are like, well, why are you doing that? What's that for? And then they usually want to tell me that they're totally fine with whatever gluten, or whatever kind of thing. But it sometimes, I'm like, I'm eating whatever I want to eat. You order what you want to order. Mm-hmm. And maybe if the way I'm eating, maybe it'll spark something in you to think about it, great. But I'm not here to preach or to, if you want to ask me questions, great. But yeah, so the same thing with the no drinking. People will be like, oh my goodness, what do you mean?
I'm not trying to sell sobriety here.
No. Yeah.
Yeah. What somebody else does with, in their own time, fine. Mm-hmm. By all means.
And the culture about with, this is generalizing, but women with wine and guys, bonding over beer, what does that look like? And how do we, as someone that's decided to not drink, how do you
navigate that?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I still, like I said, all my friends drink. Most of them do. I mean, I do now have a lot of friends who don't drink, but when I'm with my friends who are drinking, dinner parties or going out to dinner, or even in my own home, I've had dinner parties with alcohol. It honestly is just a non-issue with me. That's not always the case with everyone. And everybody kind of knows I don't drink, and that's end of story, because I put that energy out there. I'm not wishy-washy about my decisions, and I don't allow for people to cross my boundary with that. If someone tries, I shut them down. So just as a matter of if anyone's going out to dinner or trying to hang out with their friends, and if they are giving them a hard time, one, I would question why. Why are these people giving the non-drinker such a hard time? And maybe they can consider not hanging out with those people. And then also just maybe start looking for a group of friends who are not drinking and understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, it's funny because I've had these girlfriends I've had since I was 12. There's about 8 of us, and there's probably maybe only 2 that drink. Most of them don't drink, which is,
oh, well, that's amazing.
It's weird. Yeah, it's kind of amazing, and actually, I don't think typical.
Mm-hmm. No, it's not.
Every woman's got a glass of wine, whereas here we're all having club soda or something. So how do we be social while sober? Because a lot of times I think if we're drinking, that's when we're having fun and we get to hit the dance floor and we're whipping it up, and some of the best times of your life you can remember when you were drinking and it was laughing and all the stuff. So right now, Preconception Health, we have opted not to drink. It's full stop. How do we be social while sober?
Well, I think you can still do all the things that you were doing while drinking, but if it makes you uncomfortable, you have to figure out how to do it. Your life is going to look different. Every season of our life, we change how we do things. My life does not look the same way that it looked when I was in college. When someone is trying to get pregnant, they might have to, maybe not socialize as much, maybe not go out as much if they're not drinking. They might find that they're totally fine with that as well. People might not like this answer, but I feel like you just got to do it. You got to figure it out and try to make it not that big of an issue. Do you know what I mean? You got to change something to make yourself comfortable.
Yeah. And how does that look for you, for instance? So when you decided as you said, think back in 2015, you're like, wait,
Yeah.
I'm making this decision. And what did your social life look like when you decided to do that?
Well, at first, I didn't really change anything. And I quickly realized that I needed to. I was still going out to bars and hanging out with friends and doing everything that they were doing, or going out to dinners and brunches and all that stuff. And I realized I don't like standing in a, bar that smells like cleaning solution. I don't like going out and socializing when I cannot hear anybody else talk. I like going to dinners. I like going to brunches that don't have, when all the girls that I'm with aren't looking to do the bottomless mimosas.
Mm-hmm.
Those things have to change a little bit. I'll go have coffee with somebody instead of going to happy hour. Like, I'm still socializing. I still have friends. I'm still living and breathing and enjoy, being social. It just looks different. And everybody has to figure that out on their own. There's no like one way. There's absolutely not one way to do this.
And as far as the drama side of things, how has that changed since you've quit drinking?
Well, I mean, with alcohol, that's going to bring drama into anyone's life. And that's another, on the spectrum of your drinking. Like, how much drama do you have in your life? Are you consistently having problems with in your relationships with your friends or partner or your family? Are you getting, let go of jobs, or are you just not doing all the things that you want to do? In my case, I was talking a big game, but I wasn't really doing that much. I was doing all the healthy things. But on Saturday morning, I was, instead of going and working out or doing my meditation or my yoga and eating a healthy breakfast, I was recovering from a night out to 3 o'clock in the morning, smoking cigarettes and drinking tequila. Even though I looked the part, there was a lot of drama and chaos around me, like cleaning up, after the night before, like having to call girlfriends and apologize if I said something or let out a secret, or it's just fighting with my boyfriend. There's a lot of drama around drinking.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, of course, inevitably, if you remove that alcohol, life gets a lot, how is this the best way to say? It gets a lot more even keel. Okay. There might not be super high exciting nights, but you're probably not having really low, feelings of shame and all that. You're just a little bit more even keel here. So that in itself is a lot more drama free.
Yeah, not the roller coaster of like, oh my goodness, having the time of your life, and then regretting everything that just happened.
Yeah.
Yes.
Drink, regret, drink, regret, drink, regret.
And so what about if your partner's not on the same page with you? Like, and obviously in this with Preconception Health, we were recommending that both. Yeah. So what was that like for you? And what have you seen with your clients?
I mean, ideally it would be great. My husband still drinks. He used to drink a lot though. And he cut back after he kind of saw all the changes happening with me. And our relationship just got so much better after I stopped drinking. I do see, thankfully, a lot of my clients who have decided to give this a go, stop drinking for however long they've chosen. Their partners are usually supportive. I've come up with one or two where the partner's kind of a little upset they've lost their drinking buddy. You got to have some tough conversations with partner. You got to let them know where you're standing, where your boundaries are, and what you need to do for yourself to feel good. Because it's not about them. It's about the non-drinker now. It's about the woman's life and what she wants. So those tough conversations are hard to have. And a lot of people avoid them, assuming they know what their partner is going through as well. But you can't assume anything. You have to sit your partner down and talk to them and be honest, and allow your partner to tell you honestly what they feel like with you quitting drinking, and what that means for them and what it doesn't mean as well.
Yeah. And so so really having those honest conversations, getting everyone on the same page. And so as far as, now, do you have like when you were working with someone, do you have where they set a time frame saying, hey, I'm not going to drink for X amount of time, or just what does that look like?
So I have two ways that I work with people. One of them is a one-time coaching call with a week of accountability check-ins. And that's normally just, that's for the woman who's kind of looking for a little extra push, wants to know how to go about it, what she needs to do, and just kind of setting someone up to take this plunge. And that's a terrible way of saying it, but you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. And then the 10-week coaching option that I have is I ask everybody who's doing that with me that they're not drinking. Now, I work with people who are currently drinking, and I also work with people who have already stopped, but they're kind of looking for a little extra more, like, what else can I do? You know, because unfortunately, sometimes if you just remove the alcohol, you're still you still got to deal with your own shit, you know. Mm-hmm. That 10-week coaching course, I just ask that whoever I'm working with is that they don't drink. And if they can commit to that. Now, whether or not they do or don't, that's up to them. I would just assume if you're going to pay someone to work with them for 10 weeks, so you can you can stop drinking, you stop drinking, you know, you don't want to waste your money or your time.
Mm-hmm. And during the early days of this, what are some common struggles or things that you see kind of as we're like, wait a minute, we're flipping a switch here. And not to say, so this is not someone that's as we're just talking about more the gray area. So obviously mm-hmm. issue, there's AA, but for someone who just wants to stop, what are some things that
they're coming up against?
Yeah.
We hit two of the big ones, partner and being social. Mm-hmm. So you have to change what those things look like as far as being social. A lot of times nothing changes if nothing changes. You know that quote. Mm-hmm. You have to be in charge and take responsibility. Nobody else is going to change for you and make it easy for you. And then with the partner, again, a lot of tough conversations my clients are having, you know, but they're cleaning stuff up. A lot of times the ladies that I work with, they assume their husband is going to miss the party girl, their drinking buddy. And it kind of turns out the husband's been waiting for this, you know. That's typically the case. They want their lady to feel good and less fighting and insecurity. So that's what I've been seeing as of late.
To have those kind of honest, raw conversations.
Mm-hmm.
So why do we think this is the ultimate healthy choice? Because I think it's still socially accepted. You know, obviously now in Canada, you know, marijuana is legal. So we're talking about drinking today. But like, why is this still socially accepted as to drink, and to remove it? How does that really improve your health overall?
Well, I mean, why is it still socially accepted? I mean, that's a huge question, and mm-hmm. one that I wouldn't be able to answer. But how is it the ultimate choice in health? Well, coming from someone who coined that, I feel like, I mean, we're living in this wellness bubble. Everyone's doing all the self-care and the healthy trends and the green juices and the smoothies, and like you're eating well and you're exercising. But then Friday night comes and you're sitting on a bar stool. Saturday morning comes, it's a funny thing. You know, you got to start drinking early Saturday to recuperate from Friday night. We're doing all this goodness, right? But then we're throwing back tequila shots and smoking cigarettes till 3:00 in the morning. Like, where is that? And then the word balance, which I fully believe is the most misused word in the wellness community, mm-hmm. It's an excuse using that word. If I say I'm balanced, it is an excuse to do all the shitty things that you want to do and get away with it without taking responsibility. Don't use that word balance. Just like, if you're going to do this, call it like it is. Like, I'm going to go out and I'm going to put this alcohol into my body, and I'm going to make bad decisions, and I'm going to cause some drama in my life, and I'm going to wake up with a wicked hangover tomorrow morning, and I'm going to be responsible for it. But don't call it balance. You don't deserve to do that to yourself because you worked out 3 times this week, you know? I think when you get honest with yourself and fully conscious of all of the decisions that you're making, you'll be less likely to choose the option that's going to make you feel like crap if you really look at it and really play it out. And again, some people don't have a problem with this. Others do. I would go out on a Friday night with my girlfriends thinking, okay, I'm going to come home 10 o'clock, get a good night's sleep, do all the things I need to do tomorrow. It never usually happened like that. Sometimes it did. Yeah, of course. But how often was it I'd go out for 2 drinks, 1 drink, and then, like I said, 3 o'clock in the morning would roll around. So you really have to look at those choices. Like if you're putting in so much work and so much effort to take care of yourself, like why are you sacrificing yourself at the end of the week or whenever in the week?
Yeah, seeing it as a reward or something you deserve, and what are you using it for or running away from?
Because exactly, running away from, masking, numbing out. You got to get real with yourself and have those tough conversations with yourself as well.
And so the whole sober curious mindful drinking, it's a wellness trend right now with no alcohol. So can we go into that a little bit? And then is there danger, I guess, with this if someone is addicted?
Yeah. So super tricky, kind of heated in the sober community right now. There was a big New York Times article that came out maybe a month or 2 ago, I think. Yes. I don't know if you happened to see it. Did you see it? Well, it kind of blew up and people got really vocal about it one way or the other. And I personally don't use the term mindful drinking. I think when people start using that, it's around moderation. And I find personally that moderation was it just messed with me. Like I was never able really to moderate, but that's the power of alcohol. Like once you start ingesting alcohol, you're not going to be able to moderate it. You know what I mean? Your ability to make those decisions is not the same as before you ingested the alcohol. I understand that people are using it just, to be more conscious of their drinking, and that's great. That's fine. Sober curious, I know that Ruby's been getting a lot of slack with that term, only because I think the way she means it, and again, this is my opinion, all of this is different than a lot of people are taking it. Being sober curious is not claiming to be sober. Being sober curious is just being conscious of not drinking. Ruby herself is not sober, nor does she claim to be sober, but she is sober curious. I mean, she's curious about what it would be like or what it's like to not drink. So I think that there was a lot of heated discussions around people who use the term sober curious. You're not sober if you're sober curious. You're either sober or you're not. But then again, everybody's definition of sober is different. So it's a big topic right now. Just like the gray area drinking, someone can be a gray area drinker or a former gray area drinker. It's perspective as well. When I first started talking about my journey, I did get some pushback from people who were clearly in AA because they were telling me that I was doing it wrong and that AA does not allow for this and that I wasn't using the proper AA verbiage. And I had to be very clear, like I am not someone who is in AA, so I don't know that. I can only speak from my perspective and my journey. I can't stress this enough. It's tricky, this whole verbiage around drinking and not drinking. I'm kind of on the side of, if you're considering not drinking, great. If you're not drinking, great. If you want to stop drinking, great. Let's start from there. Let's start from a positive place. Do not label yourself if you don't feel that it fits. You don't have to make your sobriety or your sober curiousness look like anybody else. Just start from there. On the other side of this, which I am well aware is happening, anyone who is coming from a place of addiction and had to, or chose to get help or had to get help or is in AA or whatnot, who really struggled with alcohol, there's this side that all of this sober, curious, gray area drinking is just masking or pretending not to be, that we're using it as an excuse not to label our own selves as alcoholics. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Again, I'm trying to find the right words because I don't want to missay anything. So I just can't stress this enough. It's very tricky. It's tricky. You don't want to trigger anyone. You don't want to say the wrong thing. I I just come from a place of positivity no matter where you're at, honestly.
And for you, going to AA wasn't an option. It was, okay, the party girl thing was going on. You didn't like doing this on a regular basis. But when you were able to fully study. So for you, you went.
I just stopped.
Cold turkey, full stop.
Yeah, I just stopped. I did not need a sponsor. I didn't need anything like that. I just, again, I don't consider myself having been addicted to alcohol. I consider myself somewhere on that gray area spectrum. And like you said earlier, like different times in your life, you might be a little bit darker than others, and I don't think everyone needs to quit drinking, nor do I think everyone who quits drinking is an alcoholic. Those things are true for me. I see those things. So
yeah, it's a loaded thing, right?
It's so loaded.
Opinions with it. To me, I think personally, someone on the trying to have a baby, if there's not addiction present, then looking at this, if you're doing, like you talked about, doing all those self-care and wellness and diet and food, when you do have a drink, that just takes you off. You end up eating. If you're trying to stay off gluten, you end up having gluten because the defenses kind of go down. So you might not be able to self-regulate as much as typically if you were not drinking.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, again, that's not always the case for everyone. Mm-hmm. And I think for your listeners, just if they're considering or wanting to not drink because of this, I mean, what other better reason is there, Mm-hmm. So absolutely. Just looking at it from that point of view, and anybody who has a problem with them not drinking for that reason, whether they want to tell them or not, it's just, again, it's none of their business. It's nobody's business.
Mm-hmm. So just keep a hard stance on this, and that when you're doing this for yourself, and either you can share or not, but be kind of resolute in your resolve, I guess.
Yeah.
And then, okay, so the sober bar scene, what does that look like now? Because there's lots of...
I actually have not been to any of these. My husband and I just went back to New York a couple of weeks ago, and we were going to go to one in Greenpoint, and we just never made it. But they seem to be kind of popular. I believe they're more pop-up than an actual brick and mortar there all the time. I believe. I'm not sure. Again, I can't really speak to it. Okay. All that much.
And then what about with some of the I'm not sure if you've dug into any of these with the different, some of these are probably not going to be recommended for people that are trying to conceive. Like I know there's kin tonic. I was looking at that. Have you done any of that stuff that has some of the adaptogens in there? And if you're trying to, obviously people are listening to this, you're trying to conceive, so we wouldn't recommend that. But have you looked at any of this?
I've tried it. Yeah. There's a bar out here that I was recently at for a birthday party, and they had mocktails. They had a really nice mocktail list, actually. And some of those mocktails had the kineuforix in it, and it was pretty good. It was pretty good. That's all I can say.
I know I was looking at them, but I haven't tried them myself. But yeah, you can do some of the mocktails too, which there's actually, I had one the other day when I was out, when everyone was drinking, and I just had, it was fresh lemon with a little sprig of thyme. And I'm like, okay, that was nice.
Yeah. I love mocktails. I'm not a water, I love water, but I'm not going to go order water. Like I would like a bartender to if I'm going to be in a bar, make me something fun. I love places that have really extensive mocktail lists. That's always such a treat. I drink non-alcoholic beer. I don't have a problem with any of that. So I always like it when it's an option.
Do you have a favorite mocktail recipe or something that's your little go-to?
Oh gosh, my husband would laugh for you asking this. I always have him order it for me, because the only things that I say are I like not sweet and I like it spicy. So it's a lot of ginger, that I really like. So that's about as much as I can explain my mocktails. And then as far as, non-alcoholic beer goes, Bitburger is hands down by far my favorite. So if anybody wants to check that out.
Bitburger. Awesome.
Bitburger. Yeah.
Great. And so you have a teetotalers manifesto. Can you read that for us?
Yeah, I can do that here. I wrote this a couple of years ago, probably when I first started writing. And it's on my website right now on the first page. And it's just this. I choose energy over lethargy, love over indifference, exercise over hangovers, productivity over Netflix, clear eyes over reddened, making love over fighting, confidence over insecurity, glowing skin over puffy and dulled, real life radiance over iPhone beauty apps, crystal clear thinking over a buzzed brain, speaking my truth over whispering secrets, tuning in over tuning out, self-care over self-sabotage, connecting over disconnecting, and truly giving a fuck over not giving a fuck.
Yeah. I love that. It's awesome.
Yeah. That pretty much sums up why. Why did I quit drinking? Why do I continue to choose to live this lifestyle? That's right there.
I love that. Beautiful. And do you have anything you're obsessed with right now, be it a book, a website, a documentary, anything that you're just digging?
Oh gosh. Well, I'm actually I feel this new season coming along with the Sober Glow, and I've started to, I've moved on from just speaking about sobriety, and I'm more into this word of unmasking. So doing anything in life that unmasks, removes the masks that we wear, whether it's, the drinking, or not telling the truth when we need to. One of the big ones that I did was I stopped coloring my hair a year and a half ago. And that's purely, I never would have done this had I still been drinking, because my mindset has changed about what I want for myself in my life. And so now I have a head full of crazy silver hair. And it honestly, after choosing not to drink, this is the best decision I've made. So I am obsessed, I would say, over the Grombre account. I love Martha, who runs it. So anybody who wants to check her out.
How do you spell that?
Grombre is Grombre. Did I spell that right? Yeah.
Grombre. Is that for the silver?
Yeah, that's all silver, grow hair, or gray hair, grow out, all that. So
yeah, I see you with the hair, and your hair looks awesome. So this is crap, because I color my hair every 4 weeks because of the gray, and I'm like, damn, like that. I don't know. It just, I know.
I get it. I get it. I sat in that chair every 14 days. I had to, every 14 days I was doing it for years. I'm 43 years old, and I've had gray hair since I was a teen.
Yeah.
So
I know, because I'm like living the healthy lifestyle and stuff, and I'm putting all these, I did go to an organic salon for a while, and then
me too.
not one close here, and then this is, yeah. Okay. Well, I will dig into that myself. Anyone listening, for anyone listening, actually, so obviously, using hair dye when you're trying to conceive, is there, share with us a little bit about that.
What I feel about that? Oh gosh. Well, one, can I just say I've never had children, so I've actually never conceived, but, I can only imagine, and everybody has to do their own research here, please, that putting that toxic hair dye onto one of the most porous areas of your body is probably not the best idea.
No.
Granted, I did it for 20 some years. And I did the organic salon route as well. And then I started trying, there are two companies that I don't know their names offhand, that are as organic as possible that you can do at home. And I bought both of them. I used one, and it was like a science project that exploded in my bathroom. And this is enough. This is absolutely enough. So
go gray.
Yeah. Oh, please don't send me hate mail.
So, and do you have a success story you'd like to share with us? Anything that comes to mind?
Yeah, actually, I just spoke about this actually on my IG account. So I run these retreats. I take sober women out off the grid, and we have these adventure retreats. And the last one I did was down in Baja, and this woman showed up. I'll keep her name out of this, but she showed up. She was one of those ladies that she had bought all the insurance. She even bought out Change My Mind insurance. She was very skeptical about what she was doing. Her husband literally had to take her to the airport to make sure she got on the plane to join us. She wanted to leave after the first day, when she had just got down there before she met everybody. It took her a while. Long story short, at the end of the trip, she proceeded to go home. She quit her top executive job that she had. They sold their house. They packed up everything. They pretty much sold everything, packed it up. They bought a very large 4x4 truck with a camper. and the camper that you see on my IG account, I think you were just talking about that before we started, that's hers. And they originally were going to travel the world for 3 months, or travel the US, the US for 3 months. And then she announced that they were actually not going to stop. They were going to go for a full year and see where it goes. So
she found herself on the retreat.
And she was the only, maybe not the only one, but she was one of the ladies that came down that was sober curious, that was beginning this process. She was still drinking here and there, but wanted to stop, wanted to navigate it, wanted to find out, how other women were doing this. And she is doing it now. She's doing it.
Love that.
Yeah.
So, and you've got a retreat coming up here, I think it's in September or October?
The end of October, we're doing it again down in Baja. And then we have 2 spots left in Baja. And then we're doing a retreat in Yellowknife, Canada, in February. So we're going to fly up there.
Dream.
Yeah. I love the polarities of these trips. I don't do anything fancy, but off the grid, no Wi-Fi, like down and dirty, back to basics. This is what I'm all about. So up to Yellowknife, taking a bush plane to a lodge that is you can only get there by plane. There's no driving. And then we rented out this lodge, and it's going to be a group of women. We have a professional photographer. There's going to be outdoor activities. There's going to be indoor activities. And of course, the Northern Lights. That's what it's all about. So
I love that.
Yeah.
Awesome. So they can go to your website at thesoberglow.com for more information about retreats. And well, thanks so much for coming on the podcast, sharing your words of wisdom around this topic. I think it's a really kind of cool thing to dig into, especially for people that are on the fertility journey. So thanks again, Mia, for coming on.
Oh, thank you for having me, and good luck to anyone who's listening. I love it.
Awesome. As you may know, our Mindfulness Fertility series is closing today. The registration closed today at midnight Pacific. So this is a 6-week live online group program. It's our signature mindfulness program, and it is a must if you have an IUI or an IVF coming up, and essential for anyone trying to get pregnant naturally. And we only run this series 2 times per year. We offer insurance receipts if you have coverage for social work or counseling. There's only a handful of spots that remain. Class starts this Thursday, September the 26th. All classes are recorded, so you can view again at your leisure. I just wanted to share another success story from one of our previous mindfulness series. This is from Danielle. So it was interesting to learn the different techniques in relaxation and in being able to turn negative lines of thought into positive ones. Physically, mentally, I became somewhat calmer, which helped me in my day-to-day interactions with my husband, family, and friends. I learned more about nutrition, even though I was already gluten and dairy free, and it really reinforced my commitment to staying on that path. It turns out I conceived even before the series ended. Incredible and shocking, Danielle. So if it feels right for you, feel free to go to FabFertile, FabFertile.com, click on shop, and then Mindfulness Fertility Series to register. That's FabFertile, FabFertile, then click on shop, Mindfulness Fertility Series to register. And we'd love to have you join. The Get Pregnant Naturally podcast, including show notes and links, provides information with respect to healthy living, nutrition, lab testing, and is intended for informational purposes only. The information provided is not a substitute for medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment, nor is it to be construed as such. We cannot guarantee that the information provided on the Get Pregnant Naturally podcast reflects the most up-to-date medical research. Information is provided without representation or warranties of any kind. Please consult a qualified physician for medical advice, and always seek the advice of a qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding your health and nutrition program.